Oh yeah, sexy biscuits. Nice.
Long was 1975. A using girls on the rise. Reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends. But Long was 1975.
Hey YouTube, Long Voice Post 1975. Today's December the 3rd. That's a well, you've read the title, you know what I'm going to say. But that's a really important historic day in, video game history. A day that pretty much shaped where we are now and changed everything for the better. Today is just saying it out loud makes me feel old. It's the 20th anniversary of the original PlayStation, obviously 1993, December the 3rd, in Japan I should say. But then I'm allowed to talk about this because mine, which I still have, if I can never find it in the pits of this house, is a Japanese PlayStation. Now, I want to talk about my love, my fondness of, the PlayStation. What it means to me, my story of getting it, and some of my stories for games in the early days, and how much fucking money it cost me. And, more so than, well, obviously we know its importance, but I want to hear your memories, on it as well. But basically, you got to remember, this was, running on the back of the 16-bit era, the failed botch of, things like the Mega CD. I won't say the PC Engine, because the PC Engine CD, but, they pulled that off. That was a slice of fried gold. And then, obviously, the catastrophe that was the 32X. Now, obviously, the Saturn came out, around about the same time, ish, but didn't get anywhere near the success of, the PlayStation. But all I remember was seeing previews for it and, reading little, glimpses, technical glimpses of it in magazines and stuff, and just thinking, holy shit, this thing is the future. A CD-based 32-bit console that can do arcade perfection graphics. And obviously we saw the screenshots of Ridge Racer, which was, I loved and adored that in the arcade. And that alone just gave, made my tinkle twinkle. I was so excited for this. And then I found out that once again we were going to wait forever to get it in the UK, and and someone who's only ever owned Japanese consoles at this point, apart from my Sega Master System, thinking, oh shit, we're going to get a really dodgy bollocks 50 hertz bots of this beast. Welcome to Borderland, people. And I ain't talking the game, I'm talking that at the top and bottom of your screen. So I went the route I normally do, which is I'm going to import one. I think I got mine in, I think, January 1994. Still about a year ahead, possibly a year, I guess, of the UK release. I can tell you what, I thought it was popular when I had Street Fighter 2, on my Japanese Super Famicom, but fuck me, I was, popular when I had my PlayStation. No, that's why I bought it, because I would guard it. I protected this like a child. Anyway, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Yeah, so I looked into importing them, and they wanted £500 to £600 for them. Oh, by the way, I didn't get any massive knockdown price. But what was really interesting was I was flipping, because we used to do this back in the day, in the early 90s. I must have been 18, just left college. And this is how I had the money to do it, and started my first job. And I think I blew an obscene amount of my wages, that I'd saved for a car on this. I think this was the better idea, because this stayed with me for years. But yeah, I was flipping through the black and white adverts, because you used to do this back in the day, and just go straight to the computer section to see if anyone was selling old systems, new systems, any systems. And some bloke in St. George was flogging a Japanese Saturn and a Japanese PlayStation, and he wanted 450 quid a piece for each, of those. So I phoned him and just went, I want the PlayStation, please do not sell the PlayStation, please do not sell the PlayStation. And he was like, right, no, cool. And so I scraped the money together, I had the money, but it was in my bank account. I just wanted to straight go there, and I could only take 250 quid out of my card, so I took 250 quid out of the bank, scraped some off my parents, scraped some off my friends, scraped some off my brother, excuse me. I had crumpets with Mum on, I'm not gonna lie. And got 450 quid and then drove to St. George, and this is pre-sat nav, and I was doing it off a street map, like looking down, stopping at the side of the road every now and looking down, going right, got it. Got to this guy's house. Oh, the entire trip where I was just nervous, you know, the trepid nature of, because it's just me back then, it's still me now, which is, I know he said he'd keep it, but what if someone else got it? What if he sold it to someone else before I got there? Oh, what if there's an elephant in the room? And yeah, I remember knocking on the door, and my hands were shaking, and he had his PlayStation set up, you know, and he welcomed me in, and my then-to-be PlayStation, I should have got the box. I still have the box in the other room, because the Japanese box is beautiful, monochromic but beautiful. Yeah, he had mine in a box, or mine to be in a box, and he had his set up, and he was playing Ridge Racer. And I remember saying to him, "What's the Saturn like?" I have no idea why I asked that, but I did. So, "What's the Saturn like?" And he was like, "Dude, you know, I have one to sell, but between you and me, buy this. Daytona is shit. Ridge Racer is boss." I had a quick go on Ridge Racer, and I was sold. And mine came with a packed-in game. I don't know if he did that or that was what they did then, but I came with Cyber Sled, which is a Namco or Namcot Cyber Tank. I think it's an arcade conversion, and that was the only game I had for like 3 days, and I still don't like it, but I have fond memories of it. It was my Rastan 2 from the Mega Drive, but for my PlayStation. I played the balls out of that game because I had nothing else to play, and I loved it. But even then, I was blown away. I was like, it's the future. Look at it. Look at it. The 3D is amazing, because we hadn't really experienced 3D at home before. Not like this. Anyway, we had crude, you know, compared to it, Super FX games and stuff like that, but this was just something else. And I have to say, people hate the PlayStation design. I mean, it's easy to look upon it now and say it looks like a Fisher-Price toy, because it does. But then it was chic. It was the future. I think it's safe to say that it made gaming kind of justifiable. Sorry, people. Honestly, Marmite's the best thing ever. Justifiable for adults. You know, it made gaming like something that wasn't just for kids and was cool. And I think its design was definitely a part of that. Sony were on the money and knew what they were doing. Anyway, skip to the end. A couple of weeks later, well, a couple of days later, where I worked, which was actually in St. George, over the road, and this is unheard of now, there was a Japanese import shop, which is the first place I ever saw a Neo Geo CD, and they started selling PlayStation, you know, 1 games. I don't think I have to say 1 in this video. Yeah, they started selling PlayStation 1 games. We're talking 65 quid a pop here, people. So already broke from buying my PlayStation 1. I needed another game, and I remember going in there, and I remember seeing the screenshots for this in a magazine, and they said, yeah, it's no Virtua Fighter, but it's a bloody, you know, tour de force of, you know, technical ability and showing off the PlayStation, and that would be Battle Arena Toshinden, which is still one of my favourite games, simply because of how much, you know, longevity and fun I got out of this with my mates. So I bought it, 65 quid, after work, drove home, stuck it in my system, and it blew my tiny little fucking tits off. It was something else. Yes, it's a, sorry, Windy Pops. Shouldn't eat before I vlog, should I? Yes, it's a very, very linear fighter, but from a 3D perspective and just, you know, as an early game, I'd never seen anything like it. Especially the end stage where you fight the boss, it's really, really trippy. Played the crap out of this with my mates for absolutely ages, you know, 65 quid well spent. Bought a couple more Japanese games. Obviously I got Ridge Racer, which was just absolutely fantastic and phenomenal. I remember we used to play this at my mate's house, and what we used to do was, this is stupid, people, we used to turn this, because in an amazing stereo, speaker sideways and insert it under the chair so all the sound would come up when you were playing it with your control pad. Yeah, stupid, I know, but it made it a much better gaming experience. One of the first games you could sit and laugh at your mates when they play, because everyone does this. And still does. Motortoon GP was the other one I got, which looked nice and shiny, but was shit, and that was a waste of 65 quid. What was the last Japanese game I got? Shit. That's not the game. I can't remember. But here's the interesting thing, right? The UK one came out, and I was thinking, oh shit, what am I going to do now? I can't, because this is before the mod chip came out, which I allegedly may or may not have done eventually. And I'm like, oh, I can't play them. And don't ask me how I found this out, because I didn't read it in a magazine, I didn't read it on the internet. But the disc swap that you could do with Model 1 Japanese machines, where you put blue tack in the little button at the back where the arm comes out that turns it off when the lid opens, so it wouldn't. And then you put your Japanese disc in, and you wait for it to go to the black screen, and then you whip that out and you stick your English disc in, and it would boot up. I have no idea how I found that out, but I used that for about a year, and it was taking a toll on my PlayStation. It really was. I think it affected the way the music tracks played though, because whether it read them off the first disc or something, but all I know was some of the music in the games I was playing was clearly in the wrong order. But yeah, it took a toll on my PlayStation. I had to take it apart, and I think I used a chunk of a Bon Jovi Slippery When Wet cassette case to prop up where the spring had gone under one of the mounts for the laser unit, but it worked. But yeah, like we'd play honestly, people, Marmite's the best thing ever. Play English games, you know, for ages, right? They came out crap, bordered in 50 hertz, but yeah. I remember the last Japanese game. Sorry, I used to have this habit of going to Christmas every Christmas Eve, going to London, not going to Christmas, going to London at Christmas, because people hate, you know, crowded streets and shit like that. But as long as you're not shopping, brilliant. It's, you know, I love Christmas, and it just made it more Christmassy. And I bought Rage Racer for 70 quid from the Virgin Megastore, because they used to sell Japanese games alongside their English games. But anyway, I'm waffling, but all I know is, right, the point in this video, which is completely just a mindless waffle, is, you know, happy birthday PlayStation. 20 years, clearly the industry now, you know, where we are with machines, you know, graphics, functionality, it's because of this machine. It really is. Yes, the Saturn did many of the same things, but the Saturn, mainly thanks to Sega, was botched. Sorry, Saturn people, and I own one, just saying. Sony then, who introduced their, that's the other important aspect, introduced their first console. They did everything right. They made it cool. They had an amazing marketing campaign. They had an amazing lineup of software. Everyone got on board. You know, it was just, it's hard to, you know, pin it down, but it's a genie in a bottle. It really was. I honestly don't want to know where gaming would be right now if it wasn't for the PlayStation. And I'm not talking about the dark future days that are ahead of, you know, no discs and shit like that, because Sony obviously are going to be a part of that as well. But this machine is everything that is cool about gaming, and the fact that it's a retro console now blows my mind, because all I know is the PlayStation is one of my favourite consoles ever, and this botched little waffle that I've given you is just a few of my memories of it back in the day. So yeah, happy birthday. Oh, I've got no booze, I have to do it with caffeine. Happy birthday, PlayStation 1. I salute you. And to all you out there, what are your experiences, you know, of the PlayStation the first time around, when you originally first got yours? Chin chin, PlayStation. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Oh, it's flat.